What's up, everybody? I'm back with another roller coaster review, as promised. From the Bay Beach review. This is a review of the Zippen Pippen wooden roller coaster located at Bay Beach in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I looked up the history for this coaster. It's a lot more elaborate of a history than I remember it being. I thought it would be. It opened back in 1912, according to Wikipedia, or 1915, or 1917. Don't quite know what it is. Wikipedia had three different answers to when it opened, and being I looked up the history for this coaster while I was in line for it, that's all I could really find. But for the sake of this video, we're gonna say 1912, which means it's 110 years old, which is absolutely crazy. But this coaster actually didn't open at Bay Beach. It opened at a park in, I believe, Memphis, Tennessee. And it closed. I think it closed in 2005, and then it got relocated to Bay Beach. Was dormant for 6 years. Reopened in 2011, where it stands today. So, this coaster is pretty famous, not just for being at Bay Beach, not just for its airtime, which we'll get to in a little bit, but also because it was Elvis called it his favorite ride, which is really, really cool. Because obviously he's in Memphis, and he was a big guy from Memphis and stuff like that. He rode this, loved it, called it his favorite ride. There's a little like stone plaque thing outside the entrance to the coaster, talking about that, which is really, really cool. So that is really cool. And then, like I said in the Bay Beach review, it's $1, and I mean $1 to ride this thing. 4 tickets, 25 cents a ticket. It's $1 for one ride on this thing, which is crazy. The only downside about that is, like I forgot to mention the Bay Beach review, you have to wait for the tickets, then you have to wait for the ride. But being a tiny park, the ride's not that long a line. It's not a big deal. Because even for this, I mean, they were running one train because they only have one train, so they're only running one train. And even though the line was somewhat long, it wasn't actually horrible. I was genuinely surprised. It actually wasn't that bad for being, one train with that kind of line. It was really good. Google Maps was wrong twice on our trip. Once when we were trying to go through a waterfall in the UP, and then I looked up the night before we got to the park, and it said the Zippen Pippen was closed on weekends. What? No. And then we got to get there because we still checked to make sure, because it had already been wrong once. We didn't share it wrong twice. It was wrong again. Google Maps, I don't know what your fascination is about trying to screw me over, but you failed twice. So have fun with that. Because it was open. I think in 2011 when it reopened, I think the GCI came through and retracked it. So that was actually like a good ride. This ride opened in 1912, and then it was dormant for 6 years, and then it reopens again. It's usually not going to be that good. Because this ride was really smooth. A lot smoother than I thought it was going to be. Like, we came right out of the station, and we had like a kind of thing. And I'm like, great. It's not a good sign. It's going to be a rough ride. That was actually really good. Very smooth. And I think when a lot of people, because a lot of people are trying this coaster out, I think it's like great airtime. This ride provides some insane airtime. Because you look at the ride, it's not like too impressive upon first look. Being, it looks a lot like Blue Streak or Zach Zoomer or one of those smaller style wooden roller coasters that you would see that were built way back when. But I mean, the airtime on this thing was absolutely insane. We were flying. I mean, we got the back row. And funny story about that, we got into the station, and since the lines were long, they didn't let us choose our own row. Like, we had to pick an open row. So the back row was full. People were already waiting for the back row. We couldn't wait for it. Which I guess is pretty bullshit. I mean, they were trying to maximize capacity. So I could see where they're coming from, but still. But thankfully, it was open. We didn't think so at first. We went to check. Oh, it was open. There you go. And the back row is definitely the way to go on this coaster. If you have the opportunity to do the back row, I say do it. Do it. Because it'll be totally worth it. This thing is, an airtime machine. Every hill, except for the very last one. And I'll get to why I feel like it wasn't that much airtimey. I'll get to it in a minute. But we were flying over every hill. I mean, of course, the drop, you're going over the hill, and then there was just airtime hill after airtime hill. We're flying up and smooth. You can feel it. Oh, it was amazing. Even like I said, running one train, I still think the operations were not that great. And I can give them a little bit of credit being the fact that it is a very small park. They only had one train, and it was a Sunday. They did all right. The circumstances they're given to work with are not the greatest. The station is very small. There's no bins on the platform, so it slows the process down. Everybody's got their bags with them, and then they get into the coaster, then they have to give up their bags to the operators take it back, and then they have to go back to their position on the other side of the station to give the signal to go. And they also have to, get everything. It's not the person locks it down themselves. They have to manually lock it down all at once. So everybody has to be ready before they can lock it in. And that they took a very long time with that. So you're sitting there for a while just waiting. Waiting to get on this thing. Like I said, lack of bins. You enter and exit on the same side. So that takes a longer time. They do some weird checks on the seats. Like, they weren't actually cleaning them. They were just, like, looking at them to make sure they were okay. Some of them they had to lift up the restraints so, like, the seats weren't full or everything. That extends the time a lot. And then, of course, everything else. But once you get on the ride, again, I give them credit, but they could have been better. Okay. But I mean, the airtime. Let's talk about the Death Hill. I heard it's nicknamed. It's the second to last airtime hill. And like, we're getting a ton of airtime. We're going around the coaster doing some great dumps and jumps and everything. And then you get the second to last hill, and we're going like, airtime, that kind of thing. This last hill gave probably the largest pop of ejector airtime that I've ever felt. And I disinclude Steel Vengeance in this because Steel Vengeance is it's super strong airtime, but it's more floater, more elongated. This thing was just a boom! Like, we were flying in the air. Holy crap. I knew there was some really good airtime on this coaster coming in. But holy crap, I did not expect that at all. That hill was crazy. I didn't even feel any airtime on the last hill because that second last hill was insanely strong. And that's why I even more recommend doing the back row, because I do think you'll get that extra bit of airtime that's going to make you love it. Love it. That made this worth it. So anyways, that's my review of the Zippen Pippen. I'm probably going to give it a final score of an 8 out of 10. It was a really solid coaster, especially for being so cheap. But I know it's out of the way for pretty much everybody else. So if you're in the area, though, I really do recommend trying it out for its price, and it's really good. So that's it for this roller coaster review. Stay tuned for much more amazing content and other amazing stuff. If you've ridden the Zippen Pippen, I'd like to know your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Goodbye.